Hi, I'm Tara Lynn of Geek Saga Entertainment, here with my co-host Manny for our July 2025 State of the Saga discussion.
So I'm Manny, and in these monthly updates shows, we'll be talking about what we've been listening to, playing, reading, and/or watching, and possibly also just general stuff that's going on with our lives and maybe even recent pop culture happenings.
Before we get started, just a heads up that you can follow me and therefore all of the Geek Saga endeavors at a Geek Saga on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube.
And you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Manissimo Art.
Just a few house cleaning items before we dig in. First, thank you to any patrons who are joining us for the patron-only live stream version of this month's State of the Saga. Second, thank you also to any patrons watching the early release of the live stream recording. You guys are such a big part of helping us keep the lights on, so to speak, for Geek Saga Entertainment, and we truly, truly appreciate each and every one of you and the support you give. Finally, if you're listening to this as a podcast-only recording, once it's gone public, keep in mind that we do record these approximately 2 to 2.5 weeks prior to their public release. And also, pretty please make sure to hit those like and or subscribe buttons. And if you are catching it somewhere where you can give it a rating, it would really help us out if you could mark it 5 stars. Also, if you aren't already part of our Patreon family, please check out our sponsorship options. For just $5 a month, you can watch our State of the Saga episodes live, while for just $3 a month, you get early access to these episodes and all podcast episodes and plenty of other content. And you can find us there at patreon.com/geeksaga_entertainment.
With all that out of the way, we're going to get into our discussion. We're going to kick this month's episode off with news and or general gossip.
So I see that we both have a movie thing to talk about. So I'll do mine first and then you can do yours because my other thing is like a kind of rambly rant. But well, guys, Jurassic Park Rebirth was a thing that I saw. I'm not going to get into super detailed discussion of it on here in case somebody hasn't seen it a month from now even and doesn't want me to spoil it. I just want to say that Jurassic World Rebirth is like Jurassic Park nostalgia plus plot points from The Lost World, Jurassic Park 3, and Jurassic World had a mutant baby. They married may not be the right word, but they married like full-on nostalgia from Jurassic Park. And I'm talking like quite a few scenes that were basically just slightly updated copies of scenes from the original Jurassic Park movie to plot points from the 3 that I just mentioned. And then they were like, and let's make it mutations. So it was fun. It was funny. It was dumb as shit. That's all there is to say about it. I do not regret seeing it because I have never missed seeing a Jurassic movie in the theaters, but it was dumb as shit. In a fun way. I honestly can't wait for it to come out streaming or whatever so that I can watch it again at home with like some friends maybe and make a drinking game out of it. Definitely drinking game worthy.
Yeah, the last one I saw, I don't even know which one it was. It was the reboot and it was like the first one. I think that was the last one I saw. I can't remember what it was called.
Jurassic World. That was like 10 years ago too.
Was it? Yeah, that's the one that I saw. It was good. I always have a hard time when they start bringing stuff back. It's so hard to beat that first one, like the original one, the way it was. I think it's just like once they did part 2 and part 3, it was kind of like the cat was out of the bag already. So it's like, okay, dinosaurs, okay. I mean, they're still very entertaining. I will say that, regardless. Yeah. I mean, they're still really entertaining movies. So
yes, entertaining for sure. This one was. I honestly thought that they had ridden the nostalgia train to the end of the tracks and sent it off the fucking cliff with Jurassic World Dominion because everything's about trains with us. But no, they sent it into the ether on the tracks. And then they were like, wait, it's still there, guys. Don't worry. This time they sent it off. If they somehow make another Jurassic movie after this, I don't know where they can go. I don't know.
Yeah, but they will. If it made any money, they're going to.
It made a fuck ton of money. It ran the box office last weekend. I'm sure it won't this weekend because of what you're about to talk about. But the first weekend it was out, it did really, really well.
The Superman movie, I have not seen it yet, but my brother-in-law is really into Superman. I know that he saw it, but I haven't spoken to him yet about it. But it looked so corny when I watched it and when I started kind of like looking up a lot of these characters. I didn't read a ton of Superman when I was younger, but I definitely familiar with some of the characters, some of the plot line stories and stuff like that. And definitely the movies when I was a kid, the Christopher Reeve movies and stuff. But honestly, it just looks really fun, and that's what most of the people are kind of saying about it. It's totally cartoony. It's completely silly. They're like, the only serious person is Superman in it. Everyone else seems more like a joke than anything else. But they said it was like really good, man. And it's James Gunn doing it. So he has a tendency of kind of bringing things back to life after they've been kind of stomped out. I think that's going to be the next watch for me.
I had no desire to go see it. I'm not a fan of Superman. I just think he's too, like, I'm sorry, the only thing that harms you is like a specific type of stone that only comes from one place. Give me a break. You have all of these powers. Super people need to have flaws. He's just so like moral and everything too, but you know what I mean? So I have heard it's really good. So like, I'll probably like watch it once it's available, like streaming or whatever. I just didn't. I don't really love sitting in theaters, so it has to be something
like
really special
good
to get me out.
So yeah, I went to watch Megan and I really enjoyed the first movie. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was nice. It was cool. It's horror, like it was kind of weird, but I definitely appreciate it because I'm more into like lighthearted horrors than I am into like serious ones. That unless it's like ghost or paranormal stuff I'm into, but if it's like anything else like hack slash kind of like weird stuff, I'm not into that stuff. I've never liked it. I've never been into like Freddy or Jason or any of those kind of things. But Megan 2.0 really talk about kind of like flipping the script on it, because this movie is not a horror movie at all. This is more of like an action movie. It like straight up action.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's super campy, but straight up it's just action. It was way funnier than like the first one, even though the first one was like funny. This one is like way funnier. There's not even horror elements to it. It's just straight up an action kind of thing. And it's so ridiculous. What they do with this movie is like so over the top and so ridiculous that you have no choice but to kind of admire like the balls for the writers to like do something like that. You would think, okay, they make a second one. And we all knew there was going to be a second one because of the way the first one ended. So it was like, oh, that'll be a second one. So you just think it's going to be another horror movie, but they're like, nah, we already did that. Let's make an action movie out of it. And it's like this crazy beat 'em up fighting action movie. Totally over the top, totally ridiculous, but honestly, I had a lot of fun from start to finish. Like it was just super entertaining, super awesome. I wish it would have done better, in the box office, but I think it kind of bombed, and it probably bombed because of flipping the script, honestly. I think if you would because when I watched the first one, I was like, okay, it's horror. When they said they were doing the second one, and I watched the trailer, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, this is not even the same genre. Like, this is not, I
got to see what they're going to do here.
Yeah, exactly. And I got excited because I was like, okay, like I love chaos, so it's like if you're going to go full throttle off the fucking ravine, I'm like, let's do it together. I'm part of this now. But it was super entertaining. It was really awesome.
Did you see it at an AMC by chance?
I think I did, yeah. I think
because like our AMC had creepy ass popcorn buckets of Megan's head.
Yeah, I saw the popcorn bucket.
I wanted to see the Jurassic movie, and I was like, what the fuck are those popcorn buckets? And he kind of like peers around the corner. He's like, oh my God, they're that Megan character. I was like, okay, I don't need to see them close up then.
I have a creepy life-size Megan.
Yeah, that's way better than a popcorn bucket, honestly.
It's way better, dude. But you can position her eyes, so her eyes is looking at the door. So if someone walks into my office, that's like the first thing that they see.
You need to bring that to Dragon Con with you this year.
I know, I'd love to, man. It's really fun to have. I don't know. I saw it and I was like, yeah, why not? It was like my birthday or something, and I was like, I'm gonna buy it. Like, whatever. I don't care.
Treat yourself to a life-size Megan.
A life-size Megan, I was going to keep it downstairs by the front door so people when they walk in and stuff, but I feel like the cats are going to use it as a cat scratcher. So I'm like, let me not do that.
We both have talked about things we watched, and I'm going to go on like a little bit of a rant. This does involve something I watched, but I'm putting it in more of like the news and general gossip section because it's less about what I watched and more about I don't want to call it a deep dive, but like I went on a little research shtick for like a day or two where I was like reading all these articles about it. But I was watching Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, which I'd seen before, but I think only maybe twice. I might have seen it once in the theaters and like once when it was available. It's a cheesy Pride and Prejudice themed remake. I like it. I mean, if you're not a zombie person, you might not like it, or a Pride and Prejudice person, you might not like it, but it was fun, whatever. But in it, there was this quote from, I want to say Caroline Bingley, who is like Mr. Bingley. He's Jane Bennett's love interest, the older Bennett sister's love interest, and his sister Caroline's a bitch. Like, she's a bitch. Nobody likes Caroline Bingley. She's pretty much the worst. And she says about Elizabeth Bennet, she's one of those young ladies who seeks to recommend themselves to men by undervaluing their own sex. And this just made me do a little bit of like a research deep dive. And I was like,
Yeah.
no, whatever. I'm going to throw this in State of the Saga because it's not something I would get into literally anywhere else because it's not enough to do a solo podcast on. And it's not something I don't think we're ever going to do an episode about this movie. So anyway, so I wanted to talk about the whole women calling other women pick-me's and like how it's pretty much been called out as bullshit and it has gone out of fashion or is going out of fashion. Like it's the use of it has very much like petered off to hardly nothing in recent past year or two, maybe a little longer. But if you don't know what the term pick me means, it basically refers to girls or women who play the I'm not like other girls card, preferring like what are traditionally considered male interests like sports and video games and raunchy comedy and shit, while also scoffing at what are considered traditionally femme interests like makeup or fashion or pop music, maybe claiming that other women are overly emotional or they and or their interests are superficial, searching out friendships with men over or rather than those with women. And in more recent years, it's become, this pick me term has become synonymous with women who actively disparage other women in order to like get ahead with men. But as I already mentioned, this term has been called out quite a bit in the last couple of years because it has become a term that is in fact thrown around by women as an insult about other women, regardless of whether or not those being called pick-me's fit any, let alone many or most or all of the aforementioned criteria. Actually, I've been called a pick-me by at least one person in the past year. So simply because she doesn't like me. And I guess like she perceives me as searching out male attention because I run one Facebook group out of like the dozens that I'm a moderator or admin of. I run one Facebook group that, to be fair, consists mostly of men. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And like, to be fair, I don't like her either, but that has nothing to do with her being a woman and everything about her personality.
Yeah.
And like, guess what? It's okay to not like another person because you don't like who they are. You can dislike somebody because your personalities don't mesh. That's okay. I don't expect everybody to like me. I think it would be weird if everybody liked me because then that would mean I'm probably way too much of a people pleaser or something, you know? But anyway, the TLDWR, don't want to read, or I don't know, in this case, it's more like TLDWL, don't want to listen, version of what could be a much longer rant of mine is that there is quite a movement that's been happening to relegate the idea of the pick-me, or maybe more so the idea of using that term as an insult to being anti-feminist because it villainizes girls and women. It polices where women can or should find happiness. And it's super harmful, honestly, to the many, many girls and women out there who legitimately like or love the things that they're being ridiculed for being interested in. I like makeup. I also like video games. I don't know. I'm not a fashionista or anything. I like nice clothes.
Yeah.
I also like some sports. Yeah, I don't know. I read a couple, well, not more than a couple, but I do have a couple articles I'm going to try to remember. They'll definitely be in the show notes for anybody who's a patron who can see those, but I do have a couple articles I'll highlight in the show notes. But there was one quote I really liked in one of the articles from this, I don't know, it's a website. Maybe it's like a magazine or something. Who knows these days? But the quote was, "Nowadays, the term pick me girl does not even describe girls. It's a foolproof way to hate on women without catching any flack for it, brushing it off as funny instead of what it really is, misogynistic. The elusive existence of pick me girls is part of an age-old tactic to pit women against each other in order to let men stay in power." I heard that quote in that movie, and I like recalled having, not super recently, but I don't know, sometime within the past few months, maybe having been referred to as a pick me girl. And like at the time, I obviously just laughed it off because what the fuck ever. If you don't like me, your insults mean literally nothing.
Exactly.
But at the same time, like hearing that quote, and then I was like, wait, didn't I also read something recently? Maybe it was like an Instagram thing or something where somebody, one of my friends or something, shared that was like, don't call girls pick me girls. It's bad. So yeah, I did my little mini deep dive and I was like, I'm going to get this off my chest in State of the Saga because who knows like what else we'll have to talk about. Yeah. We've both been so busy. But going on to watching, you saw Megan 2.0 in theaters. Have you been watching anything else, or do you have anything on your horizon that you're like hoping to watch when things are a little bit less crazy?
I'm really still trying to I'm trying to finish The Boys. I'm only like 3 episodes into like season 4 or something. I'm really trying to like finish that, but that is a really hard show to watch when there are kids kind of running back and forth sometimes, because every time I turn it on, that's when one of the kids decide to come in, and it's always at the worst possible scene ever. And it's like, oh, good God, to turn it off real quick. And I'm like, shit. Okay, never mind.
For me, I haven't really watched anything super, super special. Gilded Age on HBO is back, and I am at least keeping up with that. It's made by the people who made Downton Abbey, but it's set in like New York City and the Gilded Age, a little earlier than Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
It's good. It's been same old for season 3 as it was for seasons 1 and 2, but in a good way. I'm not arguing with the way any of the stories are going so far. I'll save like full thoughts for it for when the season is actually over, but enjoying it. I did finish Preacher. I have some thoughts. My one thing is like, because I think it's something you would enjoy, especially since you've read the graphic novels. The seasons all kind of bleed into each other because Dean and I obviously watched them like back to back to back. But I want to say that both seasons 3 and 4 got really freaking repetitive. And at the end, I was kind of glad it was over. And there were some things I didn't like about the ending, but I have a feeling that the comics probably end the same way. And I'm just like upset because certain things didn't turn out the way I wanted them to,
Yeah.
But like overall, I really liked the show. So like if anybody's out there and hasn't watched Preacher yet and likes if you like The Boys, I think you'd like Preacher.
I gotta check it out. I gotta read the comics again. It wasn't like a long run of comics either, so it was like easy to finish. And I'm always curious when I like read a comic like that, they make something, I'm like, oh, I want to see it, I want to check it out, because there's some things that get changed that are better, and so that's like areas where I'm like not a purist. Yeah, so like a good example I have of that, I have 2 really good examples actually. Is like one of them was for Alita Battle Angel. Doc Ito, the one that finds her in the trash and like puts her all together and stuff. In the comic, it was way more creepier. He was like dressing her up like a little doll and wanted her to just be this little pretty little girl, and she's so beautiful and all this kind of stuff. In the movie, he was way more of a father figure is what it was. And that dynamic played out way better than what was in the comic.
And I've only seen the movie. So honestly, like knowing that they changed that, I would have, I don't know if I would have watched the movie if I'd read the comic and it had been like creepy like that. I would have probably waited to hear from somebody that they changed that.
No, yeah. So the comic actually, if you're a woman, you should definitely read it. They do such a good job about dancing and kind of mocking the typical tropes of like the Born Sexy Yesterday thing. And they do a really good job on it, because when you're reading the comic, you think it's going to go one way, where it's this kind of like Born Sexy Yesterday thing. And it really isn't at all. That's why I really hope they keep the movies going, because that movie is really based off of the first 2, maybe 4 books, but not really, because the Motorball was more in the other ones. But it's really based on the first 2 books. And it's definitely based on like the animation that they did. They did an anime, because the character of like Shirin and stuff like that is not in the comic. That was something that was in the anime, and then they adapted it for the movie. So it really plays more out like that. But that comic is written so intelligently, and it really kind of like gives the middle finger to that Born Sexy Yesterday trope, where the girl is just leaning on the guy and needs everything the guy because she's just a little innocent girl. And it really takes that narrative and puts it on its fucking head like really fucking good. And the movie, I thought, did a really good job on adapting it. It took a little bit to kind of swallow, because the city was way too clean compared to what the comic looks like, even though it was the junkyard or whatever. And it's like, but it looked way worse. There's a movie called Elysium that came out that had Matt Damon in it. And that movie actually, when it comes to like the political structure and everything, that actually was a perfect adaptation of what was in Battle Angel Alita, like the comics. So whoever made that movie must have been a fan, because the dynamic there was like, yeah, that's it right there. Even when I was watching that movie, I was like, damn, they could have just made this a Battle Angel movie, honestly. Yeah. But really good comic from start to finish. The sequel comic was terrible, and the one they're doing now, I'm like, I don't like. So those are some of the changes that you'll see between the comics and live action. They're like really good. Another good example was I went to a Chuck Palahniuk reading a while ago, back in like FIU. This was in Miami.
By him?
Yeah. It
was wow, so cool. Him. I get very exhausted with his stuff because it becomes very formulaic, but I still love a lot of his books.
But he was totally right. He read those short stories. It was called like Guts or something. And that was something that was like the short stories that they had put in like Playboy magazine or whatever. And they said that people were reading it and passing out and throwing up and getting sick just from reading it. And I thought it was bullshit until I heard him fucking read it. And then I was like, I felt queasy. In one of the stories, it was so, Chuck Palahniuk is fantastic on bringing small details to like life. In that one, dude, there was one where I was like, holy crap, I do feel like I'm going to fucking throw up. and one guy passed out in the theater and another guy crapped his pants in the theater. So when you hear about the legends of like Guts, that's not a legend. I saw it first fucking hand. But
yeah, I haven't read those or anything. I honestly think like I know Fight Club is the movie is like so fucking touted. I think Fight Club is very much like a white boy's fucking dream movie, or maybe just a men's dream movie. I don't know. But there's so many of his books that I like so much more. The worst part is I'm blanking on the one that's actually my favorite, but I remember reading like Diary. There's like 3 or 4 of his books that I read and before I got like a little bit exhausted with. Once you get the formula, it's better than M. Night Shyamalan, but like it's still very M. Night Shyamalan. It's like once you get the formula, you're like, okay, it's easy to predict, and then you're tired of it.
I think with Fight Club, for me anyway, I kind of have the opposite feeling of it, honestly. When I first saw the trailer to it, I was very much like, okay, this is just a Brad Pitt taking his shirt off and beating other guys up, right? But there's things in there that really break, I don't know what you'd call it, the male typical thing you're supposed to be doing. Because, you know, most men, they think, well, you know, you got to make money, you got to like be successful, you got to like do these things and all this kind of stuff. So he's trying to like break that dynamic from these guys. So,
oh, yeah, for sure. The problem is that too many people don't get it. That's what I meant.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. 90% of the people who watch it totally missed the actual point. I think it hit really good for me because I was dating this girl at the time and she had broken up with me. She left me for somebody else because he was a little more successful. And he was all those things in the movie that Tyler Durden is telling you not to fucking be because it's fucking fake and all this kind of shit and a little stupid. So it was kind of like the movie to me came as like a kind of a testimony of destroying the male ego, right? And a good example of that in the movie that I always like remember is when he tells the guys, he's like, today you're going to go out and you're going to get into a fight and you're going to lose. What man wants to go get into a fight and lose? That's literally like, we're going to kill your ego right now. And this is how we're going to do it. So yes, the majority of the people missed the entire point of the film because the film was about not just kind of male camaraderie, but it was like about telling the system to go fuck itself. You know, it was standing up for the little guy. Anyways, I digress. But the ending of that movie, one of the things that's a question that somebody had asked him, he says, what did you think of the changes that they made in Fight Club? So he actually was like, actually, I thought they wrote it better than I did, honestly. He's like, they made him and the girl a little more of a love story, which I didn't do. And then the ending was completely different in the book. And he's like, I liked their ending way better. He's like, I couldn't have written that. He's like, I thought that was way better ending than I had. And to hear Chuck Palahniuk said is great because Chuck Palahniuk, he is a great speaker. You know, out of all the speakers I've seen, he is absolutely one of my favorites.
Yeah,
I
would love to see him.
He's just so much fun and so laid back, especially for someone of like his caliber. But yeah, that was another concept of them making a change that actually turns out better in the movie.
I had to look it up while we were talking. My favorite Chuck Palahniuk book is Lullaby. I've definitely read Invisible Monsters, Choke. Invisible Monsters, I'm pretty sure is the plastic surgery one. Choke I'm pretty sure they made Choke into a movie. I think I saw it and it's disgusting. I mean, but most of his books have some sort of disgusting shit in them. I'm pretty sure I read Survivor. I'm pretty sure I read Damned. I definitely read Rant and Pygmy and Diary. I'm not sure about Snuff. Like, I think I read Snuff, Survivor, and Damned, but all of these books came out in such a short period of time. And when I was like into him, I was like into him. Like, as soon as one of his books came out, I was reading it. And I got into him reading Lullaby, but it wasn't until like 2008, I think, that I started reading his books. So it's hard. And I haven't read one, I think, since. Like, if I read Damned, that was the last one I read, and that came out in 2011. So yeah, anyway, but I did, I like a lot of his books. They're definitely worth reading. And anyway, if you haven't read Lullaby, read Lullaby. It's my favorite. Even though we're supposed to be talking about things we've watched. So, okay, the last thing I watched that I actually gave a shit about was The Righteous Gemstones on HBO. Now, have you ever watched Eastbound and Down?
I know what it's about.
Danny McBride. And I've never seen Vice Principals, which is another, I believe, show that he did. But I love Eastbound and Down. It's so fucking stupid, but it's so funny. It's better if you watch it kind of spread out over time. Because like I watched the whole thing and then I sat down with an ex of mine and we started watching it and we were like back to back over like a weekend. And I was like, okay, now I'm exhausted. Like this guy, I'm tired of his antics. And The Righteous Gemstones is a little bit like that. I took breaks from it for like days at a time to watch other things, but it's about like a mega church family in South Carolina, actually. Charleston, I think, area, like closer to the coast than where I live. But it's funny. It's fucking funny. And they're terrible people in like the sense of like, oh my God, these people should not be running a church. And like, of course, the money is a thing and everything like that. But also they don't hold to a lot of the beliefs They're really stringent beliefs that Baptist or like, I don't even, that Southern Baptist is probably the best way to describe them, but they're megachurch type Southern Baptist, not like really stringent. I don't know. The characters really grow and they grow on you. And I think it wrapped up really well. There were a couple like weird side things that I was like, why did we do this? Like, why did this even happen in the first season when it stopped happening and never came back? You know, that sort of thing. But as a whole, it was really enjoyable. I'm glad I watched it. Now, things I've watched because why not nothing else include No Good Deed on Netflix, the show with oh my gosh, Phoebe from, I can never remember her real name, Phoebe from Friends, Lisa Kudrow.
Yeah, Lisa Kudrow.
And got like a bunch of other people in it, but I don't think the show matched the description on Netflix at all. It wasn't bad. It's one of those like mini series type shows with 8 40-minute episodes or something like that. It wasn't bad. It just was like, this is not what I was expecting from the description or the preview or whatever. I watched 9 Perfect Strangers season 2 on Hulu. It was actually still airing when I was first writing notes for this episode. I did finish watching it. It was fine. The thing is, like in season 1 of the show, there's a thing happening that none of the characters, I can't remember if you as the viewer know it's happening. I think you do eventually, but the viewer knows it's happening before the characters do. So like when they brought it back for a second season, I was like, how are they going to do this? And it turns out that like all the characters go in knowing this thing is going to happen. And that kind of takes away from the story. It wasn't, again, it wasn't bad, but I was shocked that they did a second season. I see how they did it. I'm okay with how they did it. It just, they could never match up to the first season because the whole point of the first season was like, nobody knows what is happening until like last minute later on, whatever. And I don't want to say any more because like there might be people out there who haven't watched it, but I don't know. If you haven't watched 9 Perfect Strangers on Hulu, I would say at least watch the first season and then like decide for yourself. I've also continued watching And Just Like That, which is the Sex and the City follow-up. It continues to be super fucking cringe. Last night was the 7th episode of the season, I believe, and they are still repeating the same bullshit from the original Sex and the City show, like over and over and over. I'm only watching it because I'm just like, it's like a train wreck, man. Like you can't stop.
You can't look away from it. You're just like, I gotta see what happens. I get that.
And then Sherlock and Daughter on HBO. It's a cute little show. I don't know if there's gonna be, if it was a one-off thing of like 8 episodes or whatever it was, or if it's gonna continue. It's very trite at times, and some of the acting is like absolutely horrible. And to be fair, I think some of that could be a combination of like bad dialogue or scripting and or direction along with the acting, because there's definitely some actors in it who are very like good actors and well known, very trite and pretty cringe, but it's still like it's a cute show. It's like, what if Sherlock Holmes had a daughter, or is she even his daughter? Let's find out. You know, it's a cute thing. Literally nothing else to watch sort of situation. So reading, have you read anything new?
No, honestly, I haven't. I've been doing a lot of traveling this past month, so I haven't had a ton of time to like sit down and really read anything aside from terrible news articles and stuff like that. That's about the only reading I think I got in.
So I did want to mention, because last month for June State of the Saga, I talked about my friend's book, Skippers of Fortune, and I wanted to give a shout out to the very chaotic, but of course, very fun interview that I did with the author, James, and my best bud, Chris, who was also like a contributor to the book. You can find the 1.75 hour live stream with no chaos redacted on our YouTube channel at A Geek Saga, or you can check out the holy shit, so much cleaner, as in the audio is like, okay. It's as okay as I could make it.
Yeah.
The podcast version is less than an hour long. You can find that on the ageeksaga.com website, or of course any major podcatcher like Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, but also we're on Podbean as well. Like we're on, basically if you have a podcatcher, most likely this show is on it because we have an RSS feed via the website. So anyway, what I've read since our June update, or at least what I've read that's worth noting, I read this book called Problematic Summer Romance. I'm not a romance novel person, particularly not a like current times romance novel person.
Yeah.
No judgment on those who are. And like, honestly, I say this because problematic summer romance, it's decent for a spicy, like real life current timeline romance novel. I was attracted to it because like the brief summary sort of sounded like a story, a novel actually that I worked on for a long time. Not the exact plot points, just the general, very general idea of a May-December type relationship, essentially.
Yeah.
Even though it's not really May-December. It's like the guy in the book is like in his mid to late 30s and the girl is like in her early to mid 20s. So it's like problematic, could be problematic for sure. But like May-December, I think of as more like 50 and 25, not 13 years, I say, being literally 13 years difference from my husband. We met when we were much older, though. Like, we didn't actually get together until I was like 30. Oh, how old was I? 38 or 39? It was 2019. Whatever my birthday was, whatever my age was when I turned that age in December 2019. So 13 years is a way different age gap when you're in your late 30s and early 50s versus early 20s and late 30s. But anyway, so I was attracted to problematic summer romance because the brief summary sort of sounded like this novel that I worked on for a long time, but set aside because of a possibly problematic age gap between a possible love interest in the book. But like reading this had me thinking that what I was writing needs very few, if any, tweaks to be not as problematic as I thought. So like, I'll see if anything comes of that. Also, this book, Problematic Summer Romance, is set in Sicily. And between reading this and watching season 2 of White Lotus twice, I really, really fucking want to go to Sicily. So like, that's my goal for next year, is going to Sicily. I want to go to fucking Sicily. I don't care. Like, I've already looked at like how to get there, and it's going to depend on where on the East Coast we end up settling. But like, it'll probably be a week-long trip that involves, you know, us going to one place for a couple of days and then like Sicily for a few days. But whatever, I want to go to fucking Sicily. I also read City of Refuge, which is another New Orleans book that I'm still on that kick here and there. This one was a novel. It does have several sections that are like more about facts surrounding Hurricane Katrina. It's heartbreaking at times, but it's still really, really good. It reads like this author is writing just a sort of like novelization, I guess, of people's real stories. And a guy I know who, he's not originally from New Orleans, but has lived there for a really long time, actually knows the author. And when he found out I was reading, he was like, oh my God, yeah, I know the author. His name is Tom Piazza. He's a really great guy. It's such a good book. He's correct. It is very good. And then I just literally, like yesterday or the day before, finished Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. It's Muir. I don't know. She's from New Zealand and her last name is like Muir. So who knows? It is really good. I had a couple of friends, close friends actually, Nami and Nick, who used to be on my Sagas and Sass webcast podcast with me. They have been pushing me to read this Locked Tomb series for years now, like 2 years now, maybe. I agree. It's really fucking good. The quote on the front of the book is, "Lesbian necromancers explore a haunted Gothic palace in space."
Wow.
It's like, it is. I have some like qualms with it, as you always do. Like, if you're somebody who reads things with a sort of like mindset of like, oh, I might have to critique this at some point, but it's really good. It was really fun. I'm already gonna be ordering the second one as soon as I'm like settled in South Carolina and like not shipping it to a house where I'm worried about somebody else having to pick up a package for me because I can't have anything coming here. But yeah, really, really good. So Locked Tomb series, Gideon the Ninth is the first one. Very, very good. Audiobooks. Okay, so last month I mentioned that I started what might be the ultimate cringeworthy book, Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer. Well, I finished it, and like, honestly, I don't know that I actually have thoughts. It was certainly something else. I think that's all I really have to say. I said just enough about it last month that between that and me saying it was certainly something else and that it's ultimate cringeworthy. That's it. That's all. That's what I had to know. So because I had to know, I looked up whether Stephanie Meyer is writing any more of this drivel. While there are articles from like early 2023 where she claimed she was planning at least 2 more Twilight, era themed, whatever you call them, books, and she had one whole chapter written for one of them, there's been no news since. So like, do I think it'll probably happen? Yes, because let's be real, Midnight Sun was published, I think, in 2020, and the last of the 4 Twilight books came out, I don't know, in like 2008 or 2007, 2008, something like that. So that's like 11 years. So I'm not counting her out yet, but So have you been playing anything?
No, not this month. I spend more time kind of rearranging my office and stuff and setting up some of my game stuff that I have had unplugged for a while because I've just been kind of rearranging stuff. So
I actually I have my PlayStation sitting in my office because I will often use like my monitor because we have his PS4 and my PS5 out in the living room. I'll probably play some stuff once I'm back in South Carolina on my own for a bit because there's only so much like reading. And I still have like this group of friends that gets online and plays Red Dead Online that I met at Black Hills Redemption last summer. So like if I'm there and I'm in their time zone now, it's going to be I think, a little easier. Listening. What have you been listening to?
One of my favorite K-pop artists, ITZY, came out with a new album last month, so I've just been kind of jamming on that pretty much for the last. I do everything like I don't do anything like in the middle. It's just like I listen to some K-pop and then I listen to some like dramatic instrumental music just to let my brain run and hide for a while. So it's pretty much been those two things, where it's just genre flopping,
What's the artist that came out with the new album?
ITZY.
What's the album called?
It's called Girls Will Be Girls. Personally, in the K-pop genre, I feel like they are the best girl band. Probably like, I think the only band that comes second to it really is aespa, but they're really good. They just don't get promoted correctly is what it is. So I kind of hate seeing that. I hate seeing a band that is like so good with their dance choreography and all this stuff. It's second to none with anybody what they're doing out there, in my personal, humble, unbiased opinion. But
well, so when you say like they don't get promoted correctly, do you think it's because it's a female K-pop band or they don't get promoted correctly up against other female K-pop bands or just K-pop? Because like I have some thoughts on like female pop bands in the US based or even UK based or whatever.
It's really a bit of both because there's other bands that get way more like promotion, but the other band I really like is aespa and they get a ton of promotion and well deserved, because they're a fantastic band also and they're great and I love seeing them, but these people haven't like had a tour in a while and they're literally on the same record label as like JYP, which is the JYP record label who does Stray Kids, and Stray Kids is like the biggest K-pop band right now. It's everywhere and it's like, dude, these girls would be doing just as good if he promoted them, on the same level as these people, because and maybe they're just kind of considered older now because I think they came out in like 2018 or something like that.
Oh God. So how dare they be more than like 17 or whatever.
Exactly. But they're just so good. And I've listened to like a bunch of like K-pop stuff. That's the one that really has stuck out to me, like that band. And I always see it and I'm like, they're not even getting fucking promoted. They'll release a new album. I won't even fucking hear about it. And I'm like, the hell? And then with the other K-pop bands, it's like, here's an album that's coming out in 6 months and they're going to promote it like crazy. And it's like, dude, come on, man. Can you just give these girls a little break here, man? Help them out. But it's just surprising to me that they're on the same level, on the same label as these other bands that are getting a ton of promotion.
The reason I asked about whether it's based on like them being, like I said, they don't get as much promotion as other female, like all female K-pop bands, or whether it's like female, because I weirdly enough earlier today, so I had finished just touching on the thing I've talked about for a couple months now. I finally got caught up with the True Blood podcast, Fang Bangers. Like I'm out of new episodes for them. So like I went back to this podcast that's called Be There in 5. The girl Kate Kennedy, who is the Be There in 5 person, she wrote this book, One in a Millennial, and that's how I found her podcast. The book is really good. And her podcast is not all of her stuff touches on things that I care about. Like I like Taylor Swift, but I don't need to listen to a 2-hour podcast episode about her essentially. And this is not me talking crap. This is just me saying like I skip a lot of her episodes, but like she had one that I listened to literally today that was talking about like one hit wonders and stuff. And it was, even though it was about one hit wonders, it got me thinking, some of the things she was talking about got me thinking about the idea of, she was going back to like the TRL days and like NSYNC versus Backstreet Boys. And she was just barely touching on these things, but it got me thinking about all the girl bands who were one hit wonders, because she did mention quite a few of them. And it's like, because back in the TRL days, in the days of like Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera and Jessica Simpson and NSYNC and Backstreet Boys and 98 Degrees, whatever, the Spice Girls were like the last girl band that was like successful for like more than one album, really. Just, it got me thinking about like why that is. And for sure, I'm entirely certain some of it was like, it's way easier to promote one sexy girl. Not easier, it is easier to promote one sexy girl than a group of girls. Because here's the thing, like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, and even to an extent, I guess 98 Degrees, even though they were like the old dudes back then, they were popular. Yes, their music was fun and whatever. Like it was great because it was fun. they were popular because girls especially flocked. They're like, yeah, like they are fangirling, and New Kids on the Block, like go all the way back to New Kids on the Block. Girls fangirl over shit, and like maybe dudes do too, but not to the extent of like the way that girls fangirled over these boy bands. And girls never, like, other than maybe the Spice Girls, girls never like really fangirl. Like even Destiny's Child, I would say Destiny's Child was probably the most successful girl group. Maybe not ever, but like certainly of the 90s. And
yeah, absolutely.
And they were amazing. And like Beyonce has moved beyond that. There was also TLC was also really successful too, but they were more hip hop. Both of them were more hip hop. Like when you're talking about like straight pop, that's why the K-pop discussion and your thing about them maybe not being clear enough internet, it just got me thinking like that combined with what I had already been thinking earlier today, which is that unfortunately, like, and also we're going back to the 90s and the early 2000s when it was far more likely for girls to be following the Beatles. It goes back farther than that, right? Like, I don't know. It's just, there's definitely a societal and psychological aspect to that I would love to like study and do some research on if I had time, because when you really think about it, even the most successful girl bands never ever had the level of success that the boy bands did, especially when you're talking about like the Beatles included way back in the 60s and stuff. So I don't know. I think that would be a really interesting, super deep dive that would involve so much research that I would love to do if I had time. If anybody listening to this or watching this or whatever has seen anything like that, please hit me up, because I would love to get into reading up on that. I guess we haven't really talked about like what we've been up to lately outside of like real life stuff. You said you've been traveling some. I know you did last month. You said you were going to Miami. How was Miami?
It was good. It was definitely a little more laid back than I'm used to when I go down there. Generally, when I go down there, it's kind of intense and it's always crazy and all this kind of stuff. But it went, really good. Had a good time. I ate like crazy. I don't know. I probably gained a bunch of weight when I was there. I mean, I ate so much. It was good, man. I mean, it was hot. I mean, it's super hot, but aside from that, Miami, I guess, you've been there once. It's just like, well, I've been there half my life. So it's like, it was cool, but it's always cool to like kind of meet up with old friends and stuff like that. And even like my work buddies, because that's where the headquarters for my job is. So, and we've all known each other for years. So it's cool to hang out and everything.
The only thing that I've been doing thing that I did was like, we had a little 4th of July gathering here. Mine and Dean's legal wedding anniversary is July 3rd. So it was more like, it was celebrating that more than it was. And also just kind of last holiday party type thing at our house here in California. It was great. Like it was just like 6 of us. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. 6 of us. So it wasn't a party, is probably like, let's use that term loosely. But it was great. Like we cooked all day, we ate all day. We could see the minor league baseball team. Their park is like a mile from our house. So we were able to go out front of our house and like watch the fireworks from here that they set off, and had a fire in our fancy backyard fireplace for the first time in a while, and cooked a lot, ate a lot, drank a lot, played some card games and stuff. It's sad because one of my good friends who's originally from Georgia just moved out here. And now I'm like, I'm leaving. And I'm like, I've got to hang out with her and her fiance twice since I've been out here. And I'm like, they're the only reason I'll ever come back here for a visit, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's stuff in California I didn't get to do or see that I think I'm going to write about at some point soon. But yeah, so it was a little bit like bittersweet, but it was fun. But upcoming stuff that we're excited about, the road trip. I have a friend who I had a long conversation with her the other night for the first time in a long time. And she told me that like she's in sales and she deals with insurance for nursing homes. And so they like expanded her area. She lives in Connecticut, and they expanded her area to include New Hampshire. So she had a day where she had to drive 2.5 hours without traffic, 2.5 hours. And she ended up hitting traffic. I didn't ask her eventually how long it took, but 2.5 hours each way for a 30-minute meeting. And I was like, kill me now. I would never. Yep. No.
I guess it's like that ADHD thing I have, where it's like I can like talk and do things, but then I'm focusing on something else at the same time. So it just gives me like this insane sense of like peace when I drive. And I've just been like that from the day I grabbed a steering wheel, man. I don't know what it is, but it's just, to me, I just felt home. If I was single and they told me I had the option to own a car or live in a house, I would own the fucking car. Honestly, I'm one of those people.
Just buy one of those vans, the like little live-in vans,
Yeah. That would be like my home, because it's like I would much rather do that. Not having a car. And that's why I drive to Miami, right? Because I'll take the kids with me and people are like, oh, you should fly, whatever. But I'm like, yeah, but then I don't have a car, or I got to pay to like rent a car. Like, I want my car. And let's face it, when you're getting into the airport and going from Atlanta to Miami, dude, that entire endeavor is going to be about 6 or 7 hours. Okay. Yeah. Maybe eight hours. Okay. From start to finish. It takes me 10 to 12 hours to get down there. I would rather just drive, and then I can stop whenever the hell I feel like it. And I don't have to take my laptop out of a bag, and I don't have to like take my shoes off. I can just drive, and I can eat I can pull over and say, wow, look, roasted peanuts or whatever the hell they got, in South Georgia. And I'm like, I'm going to try it. I haven't had it yet. Let's do it.
Well, as we close out the episode, we once again want to give a huge thank you to our patrons for your support. Make sure to check out our other Geek Saga show series, including Media That Made Us, 90s and Naughties Cringe Factor, the Impulsive Hyperfocus solo episodes, and more. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, or rate us 5 stars wherever you're watching or listening. And as always, if you are not yet a patron, please also consider supporting us by backing our Patreon at patreon.com/geeksaga_entertainment.